quite a pair, ma'am. I stare down at Jack's slumped figure. He's wearing a uniform, I think. When? About 10 minutes ago. I caught him on the security monitor. He was wearing gloves. Kinda strange in August. I recognized him and decided to give him access. That way, I knew we'd have him. You weren't here, and Gail was safe, so I figured it was now or never. Ryan looks very pleased with himself once more, and Sawyer scowls at him in disapproval. Gloves? The thought distracts me, and I glance once more at Jack. Yes, he's wearing brown leather gloves. Creepy. What now? I try to dismiss the ramifications from my mind. We need to secure him, Ryan replies. Secure him? In case he wakes. Ryan glances at Sawyer. What do you need? Asks Mrs. Jones, stepping forward. She's recovered her composure. Something to restrain him. Cord or a rope? Ryan replies. Cable ties. I flush as memories of the previous night invade my mind. Reflexively, I rub my wrists and glance quickly down at them. No bruising. Good. I have something. Cable ties. Will they do? All eyes turn to me. Yes, ma'am. Perfect, Sawyer says, serious and straight-faced. I want the floor to swallow me up, but I turn and head for our bedroom. Sometimes you just have to brazen things out. Perhaps it's the combination of fear and alcohol making me audacious. When I return, Mrs. Jones is surveying the mess in the foyer, and Miss Prescott has joined the security team. I hand the ties to Sawyer, who slowly, and with unnecessary care, ties Hyde's hands behind his back. Mrs. Jones disappears into the kitchen and returns with a first aid kit. She takes Ryan's arm, leads him into the doorway of the great room, and starts tending to the cut above his eye. He flinches as she dabs it with an antiseptic wipe. Then I notice the Glock on the floor with a silencer attached. Holy shit! Jack was armed? Bile rises in my throat, and I fight it down. Don't touch, Mrs. Gray, says Prescott when I bend to pick it up. Sawyer emerges from Taylor's office, wearing latex gloves. I'll take care of that, Mrs. Gray, he says. It's his? I ask. Yes, ma'am, says Ryan, wincing once more from Mrs. Jones's ministrations. Holy crap! Ryan fought an armed man in my home. I shudder at the thought. Sawyer bends and gingerly picks up the Glock. Should you be doing that? I ask. Mr. Gray would expect it, ma'am. Sawyer slides the gun into a Ziploc bag, then squats to pat down Jack. He pauses and partially pulls a roll of duct tape from the man's pocket. Sawyer blanches and pushes the tape back into Hyde's pocket. Duct tape? My mind idly registers as I watch the proceedings with fascination and an odd detachment. Then, bile rises to my throat again as I realize the implications. Rapidly, I dismiss them from my head. Don't go there, Anna. Should we call the police? I mutter, trying to hide my fear. I want Hyde out of my home, sooner rather than later. Ryan and Sawyer glance at each other. I think we should call the police, I say, rather more forcefully, wondering what's going on between Ryan and Sawyer. I've just tried Taylor, and he's not answering his cell. Maybe he's asleep. Sawyer checks his watch. It's 1:45 in the morning on the East Coast. Oh, no. Have you called Christian? I whisper. No, ma'am. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Were you calling Taylor for instructions? Sawyer looks momentarily embarrassed. Yes, ma'am. Part of me bristles. This man, I glance down at Hyde again, has invaded my home, and he needs to be removed by the police. But looking at the four of them into their anxious eyes, I decide I must be missing something. So I decide to call Christian. My scalp prickles. I know he's mad at me. Really, really mad at me. And I falter at the thought of what he'll say. and how he'll stress because he's not here and can't be here until tomorrow evening. I know I've worried him enough this evening. Perhaps I shouldn't call him. And then it occurs to me, shit, what if I'd been here? I pale at the thought. Thank heavens I was out. Maybe I won't be in so much trouble after all. Is he okay? I ask, pointing at Jack. He'll have an aching skull when he wakes, Ryan says, gazing down at Jack with contempt. But we need paramedics here to make sure. I reach into my purse and pull out my BlackBerry, and before I can give too much thought to the extent of Christian's anger, I dial his number. It goes straight to voicemail. He must have switched it off because he's so mad. I cannot think what to say. Turning away, I walk down the hallway a little, away from everyone. Hi, it's me. Please don't be mad. We've had an incident at the apartment, but it's under control, so don't worry. No one is hurt. Call me. I hang up. Call the police, I tell Sawyer. He nods, takes out his cell, and makes the call. Officer Skinner is deep in conversation with Ryan at the dining room table. Officer Walker is with Sawyer in Taylor's office. I don't know where Prescott is. Perhaps in Taylor's office? Detective Clark is barking questions at me as we sit on the couch in the great room. He's tall, dark, and would be good-looking if it weren't for his permanent scowl. I suspect he's been woken and dragged from his warm bed because the home of one of Seattle's most influential and wealthy businessmen has been breached. He used to be your boss? Clark asks tersely. Yes. I am tired, beyond tired, and I want to go to bed. I still haven't heard from Christian. On the plus side, the paramedics have removed Hyde. Mrs. Jones hands Detective Clark and me each a cup of tea. Thanks. Clark turns to me. And where is Mr. Gray? New York, on business. He'll be back tomorrow evening. I mean, this evening. It's after midnight. Hyde is known to us, Detective Clark murmurs. I'll need you to come down to the station to make a statement, but that can wait. It's late, and there are a couple of reporters camped out on the sidewalk. Do you mind if I look around? Of course not, I offer, relieved his questioning is finished. I shudder at the thought of the photographers outside. Well, they won't be a problem until tomorrow. I remind myself to call Mom and Ray just in case they hear anything and worry. Mrs. Gray, may I suggest you go to bed? Mrs. Jones says, her voice warm and full of concern. Looking into her warm, kind eyes, I suddenly feel an overwhelming need to cry. She reaches over and rubs my shoulder. We're safe now, she murmurs. This will all look better in the morning, once you've had some sleep, and Mr. Gray will be back tomorrow evening. I glance nervously up at her, keeping my tears at bay. Christian is going to be so mad. Can I get you anything before you go to bed? She asks. I realize how hungry I am. I'd love something to eat. She smiles broadly. Sandwich and some milk? I nod with gratitude, and she heads into the kitchen. Ryan is still with Officer Skinner. In the foyer, Detective Clark is examining the mess outside the elevator. He looks thoughtful, despite his scowl. And suddenly, I feel homesick. Homesick for Christian. Holding my head in my hands, I wish fervently that he were here. He'd know what to do. What an evening. I want to crawl into his lap, have him hold me and tell me that he loves me, even though I don't do as I'm told. But that won't be possible until this evening. Inwardly, I roll my eyes. Why didn't he tell me about the increased security for everyone? What exactly is on Jack's computer? He's so frustrating. But right now, I just don't care. I want my husband. I miss him. Here you are, Anna dear. Mrs. Jones interrupts my inner turmoil. When I glance up at her, she hands me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, her eyes twinkling. I haven't had one of these for years. I smile shyly and dig in. When I finally crawl into bed, I curl up on Christian's side, dressed in his t-shirt. Both his pillow and his t-shirt smell of him. And as I drift off, I silently wish him safe passage home and a good mood. I wake with a start. It's light and my head is aching, throbbing at my temples. Oh no, I hope I don't have a hangover. Cautiously, I open my eyes and notice the bedroom chair has moved, and Christian is sitting in it. He's wearing his tux, and the end of his bow tie is peeping out of the breast pocket. I wonder if I'm dreaming. His left arm is draped over the chair, and in his hand he holds a cut while expression is completely unreadable. My heart almost stops. Here. He must have left New York last night. How watching me sleep? Hi, I whisper. He regards me coolly once more. Oh no. He moves his long fingers away from his mouth, tosses back the remainder of his drink, and places a glass on the bedside table. I half expect him to kiss me, but he doesn't. He sits back, continuing to regard me, his expression impassive. Hello, he says finally, his voice hushed, and I know he's still mad, really mad. You're back. It would appear so. Slowly, I pull myself up into a sitting position. You're back. It would appear so. Slowly, I pull myself up into a sitting position. You're still mad. I can hardly speak the words. He gazes at me as if considering his response. Mad, he says, as if testing the word, weighing up its nuance. No, Anna, I am way beyond mad. Holy crap. I try to swallow, but it's hard with a dry mouth. Way beyond completely impassive, and doesn't respond. A stark silence stretches between us. I reach over to my glass of water and trying to bring my erratic heart rate under control. Ryan caught Jack. I try a different tack, and I place my glass beside his on the bedside table. I know, he says icily. Of course he knows. Are you going to be monosyllabic for long? His eyebrows move fractionally, registering his surprise as if he hadn't expected this question. Yes, he says finally. Oh, okay. What to do? Defense, the best form of attack. I'm sorry I stayed out. Are you? No, I mutter after a pause, because it's true. Why say it then? Because I don't want you to be mad at me. He sighs heavily, as if he's been holding this tension for 1,000 hours, and runs his hand through his hair. He looks beautiful. Mad, but beautiful. I drink him in. Christian's back. Angry, but in one piece. I think Detective Clark wants to talk to you. I'm sure he does. Christian, please what? Don't be so cold. His eyebrows rise in surprise once more. Anastasia, cold is not what I'm feeling at the moment. I'm burning with rage. I don't know how to deal with these. He waves his hand, searching for the word. Feelings. His tone is bitter. Oh, shit. His honesty disarms me. All I want to do is crawl into his lap. It's all I've wanted to do since I came home last night. To hell with this. I move, taking him by surprise and climbing awkwardly into his lap, where I curl up. He doesn't push me away, which is what I'd feared. After a beat, he folds his arms around me and buries his nose in my hair. He smells of whiskey. How much did he drink? He smells of body wash, too. He smells of Christian. I wrap my arms around his neck and nuzzle his throat, and he sighs once more, deeply this time. Oh, Mrs. Gray, what am I going to do with you? He kisses the top of my head. I close my eyes, relishing the contact with him. How much have you had to drink? He stills. Why? You don't normally drink. He kisses the top of my liquor. This is my second glass. I've had a trying night, Anastasia. Give a man a break. I smile. If you insist, Mr. Gray, rhythmically strokes my back. And I'm mad at you, I whisper. He pauses. What, Gray, have I done to deserve your ire? I'll tell you later when you're no longer burning with rage. I kiss his throat. He and leans into my kiss, but makes no move to kiss me back. His arms tighten around me, squeezing me. When I think of what might have happened. His voice is barely a whisper, broken, raw. I'm okay. Oh, Anna. It's almost a sob. I'm okay. We're all okay. A bit shaken, but Gail is fine, Ryan is fine, and Jack is gone. He shakes his head. No thanks to you, he mutters. What? I lean back and glare at him. What do you mean? I don't want to argue about it right now, Anna. I blink. Well, maybe I do. But I decide against it. At least he's talking to me. I nestle into him once more. His fingers move to my hair and start playing with it. I want to punish you, he whispers. Really beat the shit out of you. He adds. My heart leaps into my mouth. I know, I whisper as my scalp prickles. Maybe I will. I hope not. He hugs me tighter. Anna, you try the patience of a saint. I could accuse you of many things, Mr. Gray, but being a saint isn't one of them. Finally, I am blessed with his reluctant chuckle. Fair point well made as ever, Mrs. Gray. He kisses my forehead and shifts. Back to bed. You had a late night, too. He moves quickly, picking me up and depositing me back on the bed. Lie down with me? No, I have things to do. He reaches down and collects the glass. Go back to sleep. I'll wake you in a couple of hours. Are you still mad at me? Yes. I'll go back to sleep then. Good. He pulls the duvet over me and kisses my forehead once more. Sleep. And because I'm so groggy from the night before, relieved that he's back, and emotionally fatigued by our early morning encounter, I do exactly as I'm told. As I drift off, I'm curious though grateful, given the nasty taste in my mouth, to know why he hasn't deployed his usual coping mechanism and leaped on me to have his wicked way. There's some orange juice for you here, Christian says, and my eyes flutter open again. I have had the most restful 2 hours of sleep I can remember, and I wake refreshed, my head no longer throbbing. The orange juice is a welcome sight, as is my husband. He's in his sweats, and I'm momentarily zapped back to the Heathman Hotel in the first time I ever woke up with him. His gray tank top is damp with his sweat. Either he's been working out in the basement gym, or he's been for a run. But he shouldn't look this good after a workout. I'm going to take a shower, he murmurs, and disappears into the bathroom. I frown. He's still distant. He's either distracted by all that's happened, or still mad, or what? I sit up and reach for the orange juice, drinking it down too quickly. It's delicious, ice cold, and it makes my mouth a much better place. I clamber out of bed, anxious to close the distance, real and metaphysical, between my husband and me. I glance quickly at the alarm. It's 8 o'clock. I strip off Christian's t-shirt and follow him into the bathroom. He's in the shower, washing his hair, and I don't hesitate. I slip in behind him, and he stiffens the moment I wrap my arms around him, my front to his wet, muscular back. I ignore his reaction, holding him tightly, and press my cheek flat against him, closing my eyes. After a moment, he shifts so we are both under the cascade of hot water and carries on washing his hair. I let the water wash over me as I cradle the man I love. I think of all the times he's fucked me and all the times he's made love to me in here. I frown. He's never been this quiet. Turning my head, I start to trail kisses across his back. His body stiffens again. Anna, he warns. My hands travel slowly down over his taut stomach to his belly. He places both his hands on mine and brings them to an abrupt halt. He shakes his head. Don't, he warns. I release him immediately. He's saying no? My mind goes into free fall. Has this ever happened before? My subconscious shakes her head, her lips pursed. She glares at me over her half-moon glasses, wearing her "you really fucked up this time" look. I feel like I've been slapped, hard, rejected, and a lifetime of insecurity spawns the ugly thought that he doesn't want me anymore. I gasp as the pain sears through me. Christian turns, and I'm relieved to see he's not completely oblivious to my charms. Grasping my chin, he tilts my head back, and I find myself gazing into his wary gray eyes. I'm still fucking mad at you, he says, his voice quiet and serious. Shit. Leaning down, he rests his forehead against mine, closing his eyes. I reach up and caress his face. Don't be mad at me, please. I think you're overreacting, I whisper. He straightens, blanching. My hand falls free to my side. Overreacting? He snarls. Some fucking lunatic gets into my apartment to kidnap my wife, and you think I'm overreacting? The restrained menace in his voice is frightening, and his eyes blaze as he stares at me as if I'm the fucking lunatic. No, that's not what I was referring to. I thought this was about me staying out. He closes his eyes once more as if in pain and shakes his head. Christian, I wasn't here. I try to appease and reassure him. I know, he whispers, opening his eyes. It's all because you can't follow a simple fucking request. His tone is bitter, and it's my turn to blanch. I don't want to discuss this now, in the shower. I am still fucking mad at you, Anastasia. You're making me question my judgment. He turns and promptly leaves the shower, grabbing a towel on the way and stalking out of the bathroom, leaving me bereft and chilled under the hot water. Crap, crap, crap. Then, the significance of what he's just said dawns on me. Kidnap? Fuck. Jack wanted to kidnap me? I recall the duct tape and not wanting to think too deeply about why Jack had it. Does Christian have more information? Pale. I'm always pale. I take a deep, steadying breath. I need to face the consequences of my rash decision to actually enjoy myself with my friends. I sigh, knowing that Christian was busying herself in the kitchen. Good morning, Anna, she says sweetly. Morning. I smile broadly at her. I am Anna again. Tea? Please. Coming up,
Its age is
where's
uncertain,
Christian?
with some attributing
Mr.
it
Gray's in his study.
to culture which we know
Has he had
predates
breakfast?
Mississippians
I
by
glance
some
at the two
centuries.
places set on the breakfast bar.
Others argue
No,
that
ma'am.
it is much more modern,
Thanks.
contemporary with the
Christian,
mythical
dressed in a white shirt with no tie, looking every bit the relaxed CEO. How deceptive appearances can be. Perhaps he's not going into the office after all. He glances up when I appear in the doorway, but shakes his head at me, indicating that I am not welcome. I turn and wander dejectedly back to the breakfast bar. Taylor appears, snappily dressed in a somber suit, looking like he's had 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Morning, Taylor, I murmur, trying to gauge his mood and see if he'll offer me any visual cues about what has been going on. Good morning, Mrs. Gray, he replies, and I hear the sympathy in those 4 words. Frustrated Christian returning to Seattle way ahead of schedule. How was the flight? I dare to ask. Long, Mrs. Gray. His brevity speaks volumes. May I ask how you are? He adds, his tone softening. I'm good. He nods, if you'll excuse me. He heads toward Christian's study. Taylor's